Welcome back to Matt's Movie Nights, where I recommend movies and we talk about them. Last time, in a very successful ploy to bump up the body count for this year, uh, I did an Arnold Schwarzenegger triple feature. Okay, I did the last video in the Neil Breen shirt, and I'm wearing it again. I did wash it. I was wearing it last time because it was also when I was filming the Miracle Man video, and now I'm wearing it because I just took the picture for the thumbnail for the video. I did wash it in between there. It's like 2 weeks later, so yes, I've washed this. I just happen to be wearing it again because I needed it for the thumbnail. And I didn't realize I was still wearing it when I sat down to film this. Anyways, to start us off, we watched Commando, one of his most violent films and also one of his funniest films. I dare say this is far and away the best Schwarzenegger comedy. I own it on VHS. Commando, of course, is the story of John Matrix, whose daughter is kidnapped by a member of his old army battalion who they kicked out of the battalion for like crossing them or something, like double crossing them or something. And the former president of a country that he has deposed. So they kidnap his daughter and task him with going to the country, deposing the current leader, and putting the old leader that he deposed back in charge. Of course, he escapes the airplane well before he escapes the airplane before it takes off, and he now has 11 hours before the plane lands to get his daughter back. And along the way, he just kills everyone in his path. He also encounters a flight attendant who he sort of coerces into helping him. She starts off really not wanting to do it, but very quickly she is in it way too deep, and she's sort of grown a fondness for Schwarzenegger. She kind of understands that, like, hey, there's some bad people here and this dude is like gonna stop them. One thing I appreciate about this film is like a lot of similar action movies would have, a female lead like that be some sort of romantic interest, and there is not one single hint that these two are at all going to be romantic with each other. They're just happen to be together. He just happened to pick up a woman, and now they're working together, and there's no romantic tension. There's maybe, like, at the ending, there's sort of a weird suggestion that maybe they will hook up, but there is nothing in the movie to indicate any romantic interest between the two, and I think that really works to the film's favor. This movie is so funny, but at the same time, it definitely falls into that category of, like, why don't more people realize this is a comedy? I think way too many people take this film way too seriously, and then they're like, oh, this is such a cheesy 80s comedy, and it's like, yeah, man, that's the joke. It's a satire, it's a parody of 80s action films. I'll grant you, not a very deep satire. Basically, it's just, hey, isn't 80s action kinda kooky? But 80s action was kinda kooky. And so this is just like, fuck all those other films trying to, like, be subtle, acting like we care about stuff other than the big buff guy just murdering the fuck out of everyone. We're gonna cut all the bullshit. Here is just, like, raw, unfiltered. It's like the condensed version of like an 80s action movie. It's like, here, this is the important parts. Everything else is bullshit. Here is just the action. Although I'm disappointed to report it came in without a triple digit body count. It was like 94. It was so close to breaking triple digits and it didn't. Although it's worth noting there are some shots where like buildings blow up and the guys standing in front of it are very, very obviously just mannequins. Like, you can see, like, the poles they're hanging off of, and it's like, yeah, that's a real looking army man, just kind of leaning there, completely static, doesn't move as the building behind him blows up. But yeah, we'll count it. It's the body count. Alyssa Milano plays a very, very young Alyssa Milano plays Schwarzenegger's daughter. Perhaps her best role, honestly. And something I kind of appreciate is, she gets kidnapped, but then throughout the movie they show her making a genuine effort to escape. Like, she knows her stuff. Because it feels like, yeah, Schwarzenegger is like this super, like the ultimate soldier ever, and he's got this daughter that he cares immensely about. Of course, he's gonna teach her how to, like, get out of a situation where she's been kidnapped, because it seems like he considers that a real probability at the beginning of the movie. So, like, of course she's gonna know some tricks on how to escape, and she does actually escape, but she escapes at about the point Schwarzenegger shows up to save her anyway, so it ends up not really mattering that much. He still kinda has to save her, but she does escape, so, like, hey, good for you. There are some odd things here and there in this movie. What in the ever-loving fuck are they doing out there? There's some, like, odd things in this movie that happen where you're kind of like, okay, why? But at the same time, there's a very clear answer to why. Because it's cool. Right? Like, that is this movie's one and only goal. It is trying to be cool. It is trying to be the coolest movie ever. So it's just like there's a scene where he comes across like a gardening shed in the middle of this army base, and you're like, why is there a gardening shed in this army base? But at the same time, it's like, well, obviously, it's so Schwarzenegger can stab a guy with a pitchfork and throw saw blades at people. It's fucking awesome. There's this really, really funny moment where they've snuck into, like, one of the bad guys, like, where he's keeping all these military supplies, and they sneak into his office, and they're trying to, like, locate him, and the flight attendant finds out that he has an airplane, and she just pulls out a picture of it. She's just like, yo, look, he has this airplane, and it's like, why would you just have a photograph of the airplane you have lying around? But at the same time, it's just like, fuck you, man. We just keep the plot moving. Who cares? They break into an army surplus store, and they find a rocket launcher. They definitely do not sell rocket launchers at an army surplus store. I hope. I really hope they don't sell rocket launchers at a fucking army surplus store. But at the same time, it's like, fuck you, now Schwarzenegger has a rocket launcher. Actually, the girl gets to use the rocket launcher first. She uses it to help break Schwarzenegger. He gets arrested for breaking into the army surplus store, because fucking of course he does. And she uses it to blow up the police wagon and free Schwarzenegger. It's actually a really funny moment because she's holding the rocket launcher backwards at first and shoots a rocket and blows up a random building behind her. It's like, yeah, fuck you, just extra destruction. That's what this film needs. More Collateral. Schwarzenegger's in a movie called Collateral Damage, and I haven't seen it, but I guarantee there is not as much collateral damage in that movie as there is in this movie. Bill Paxton makes a cameo in this film. It's like the briefest. He shows up as like a... What's the word I'm looking for? Airplane... The guy who looks at the screen and tells all of the plane people where they should and shouldn't go. What's that called? Fuck. I am totally blanking on what that job position is called. But he has the screen, he sees the airplanes, and he contacts Schwarzenegger and the girl, and he's like, hey, you're flying over Navy airspace, you're not allowed to be here, get out. And that's it. That's all Bill Paxton is in this movie, and it's like, it's an odd Bill Paxton cameo. I think he's in one of the Predator movies. Okay, yeah. Bill Paxton, Predator 2. I was right about that. Also in Terminator 2 or Terminator 1? Okay, yeah. He was in Terminator 2. God, he has some of the best fucking one-liners in this movie. Like, there's so many one-liners. Some of them suck. Some of them, like, he kills a guy on a plane and then sort of covers him up with a blanket and he's like, "Hey, don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired." And I'm like, okay, fuck that one's not good. But he has the ever classic line of, "You're a funny guy, Sully. That's why I'm going to kill you last." And of course, its counterpart, "Sully, remember when I told you I would kill you last? I lied." Brilliant. But my favorite moment in this film, he's having a showdown with actor Bill Duke, who is one of those actors that, like, you see his face and you're like, oh, I've seen that guy in something. But you never quite put a name to the face. He's also in Predator, so we're going to talk about him again in just a minute. Bill Duke, he's having a showdown with Bill Duke, and Bill Duke, like, has a gun pointed at him, and he's like, "Fuck you, asshole!" And he pulls the trigger, and he's out of bullets, and Schwarzenegger's just like, "Fuck you, asshole." One of my favorite Schwarzenegger moments, top 5 Schwarzenegger moments, maybe even top 2. Not number 1. We will get to number 1, but one of my favorite Schwarzenegger moments of all time. Also, something like after they get his daughter, there's a guy who's like, "Ah, we got your daughter, so you gotta cooperate, right?" Wrong. And then he just kills him right there, and I'm like, "Yes, this is a perfect movie. This is everything you ever wanted out of a Schwarzenegger movie." I love this movie so much, man. Commando, highly recommended. Yet Commando, it's hilarious. I love it. It is not a subtle movie at all. But if you watch this movie, I implore you, watch it as a comedy. It is not an action movie. You should not take this film seriously at all. This is a comedy. Shit, I should probably mention, this is written by a few of the same people who wrote Die Hard. And in fact, I'm pretty sure Die Hard was written to be a sequel to Commando, if I'm not mistaken. Um, don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure Die Hard was originally written as a Commando sequel. It's directed by Mark Lester, who's done quite a bit of work. He started off with the indie cult hit Class of 1984, which we will be showing some odd metalween. He also directed Showdown in Little Tokyo with Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren, which is one of the gayest action movies I have ever seen. My fucking god. Hold on. Look at this promotional picture. Look at that. I'm gonna tell people these guys were my dads. Showdown in Little Tokyo, exceptionally gay action movie. Action in general is a pretty gay genre, if I'm being honest. It's all about, like, buff, shirtless dudes, being strong and shit. I mean, in this one, you got Schwarzenegger carrying a fucking log over his shoulder, which is not, like, I don't mean, like, a small log. I mean, like, a huge log. Like, no one could carry this thing real. Like, it's like an entire tree, basically. And also, he, like, flips over a car with his own hands. So, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that the director of this also made the gayest action movie ever, since the villain is basically a Freddie Mercury look-alike in a mesh shirt. Yeah, this one's decently gay action movie. Not as gay as Showdown in Little Tokyo, but decently gay. Anyways, Commando, watch it. After that, we watched Predator. I also have this one on VHS. Look at how shiny it is. I have Alien and Predator on VHS, a fact I am very proud of. We'll go with that angle. Predator, the classic story of Arnold Schwarzenegger and his team going deep into the jungle to rescue some hostages, only to find like the previous crew has been killed by something weird. Like something weird is going on the whole time. And it turns out they're being stalked by an alien creature who's like the ultimate hunter and is going like from planet to planet hunting people. Although that's lore that you don't really find out about until the sequels. In this movie, it's just there is an alien and it's hunting people. That's all you get to know in this one, and rightfully so. That's all you really need to know in this one. I really like Predator 2. I think Predator 2 is a little underrated. It's got well, Bill Paxton, as we've established, but Danny Glover. Danny Glover is in that one, and it's just a really fun film. I like Predator 2. Not quite as much as the first Predator, but I do enjoy it, and it does give a little more context to the Predator, which I appreciate. The weird thing about Predator is it kind of starts out as just like a normal Schwarzenegger action movie. You're kind of not led on that this is like a sci-fi thing until pretty deep into the movie. Like the first 20-30 minutes you could mistake for like any other Schwarzenegger movie. Which is I mean, I'm sure it was like a bait and switch at the time. I'm sure people were like, "Oh, Schwarzenegger action movie, so cool." And then, haha, it's a sci-fi film. But now it's almost the reverse. Everyone knows Predator as like a sci-fi film, and it's weird that it's a Schwarzenegger action movie. Number of other actors in this one. Of course, we already mentioned Bill Duke. You also got Carl Weathers in there with the fucking classic epic handshake meme where Schwarzenegger's like, "Matt Dillon, got you pushing too many pencils." Great line. Some of the one-liners in this one are really good, and not all of them are Schwarzenegger's. Jesse Ventura's in the movie, the famous wrestler Jesse Ventura, and Jesse Ventura like gets attacked by the Predator, but he's still like running around killing stuff, and someone's like, "You're bleeding," and he's like, "I ain't got time to bleed." And I'm like, oh, that's a good line. That's a solid one-liner, not from Schwarzenegger in this film. And of course, the ever classic, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," because it apparently bleeds glow stick juice. Like the Predator's blood is like green and glowing. I'm kind of interested in seeing the most recent one, The Predator. It didn't get very good reviews, but it's a Shane Black movie, and I really like Shane Black. I think Shane Black's a good writer. He's done a lot of good movies. He did, The Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Long Kiss Goodnight. Great writer. Really enjoy his work. So, and he's in this movie. He's in this movie as an actor. This is one of his rare acting roles. He's sort of a nerdy character who keeps making jokes about how big his girlfriend's pussy is. So I'm interested to see Shane Black's take on this, but apparently people didn't like it. So, but I mean, it's in this box set, and I like Predator. I like Predator 2. I'm gonna keep this box set even if the other two movies in it aren't as good. I haven't seen either of them. I've only seen the first two Predator movies, and I liked them. I liked both of the first two Predator movies, so we'll see. There's so much good trivia about like the behind the scenes of this movie, because you get this many like jacked up buff dudes and suddenly it's like a huge dick waving competition. Apparently like they would all work out every day, and if they saw someone else come into the gym while they were working out, they would just like stay so that like It's like, haha, I'm working out way longer than you are. And, but then, like, the person who just came in is like, no, I gotta work out till that guy leaves. I can't make him think, like, he's got, like, a lesser workout routine than me. And so people started going to the gym at, like, 4 in the morning so that, you know, the other crew member or the other cast members wouldn't be at the gym. And if they were showing up to set exhausted every day because they're waking up early and working out entirely too much. They're like overworking out, and the director's like, guys, you gotta fucking stop. You guys come to set exhausted every day. Stop this shit. There's also the very funny story of when they were measuring people for costumes, the costume department told Jesse Ventura, like, oh wow, your biceps bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger's. So he's like, haha, I'm gonna pull one over on Schwarzenegger, and he meets Schwarzenegger, and he's like, hey, I'll bet you like a bottle of wine that my bicep is bigger than yours. Well, it turns out Schwarzenegger was the one who told the costume department to tell Jesse Ventura he had bigger biceps. So Schwarzenegger actually did have the bigger biceps. He just he pulled one over on Jesse Ventura, and Jesse Ventura's trying to pull one on him, and it's like, ah, good shit, man. Both of those men became governors. What the fuck is wrong with this country? Apparently Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to be the Predator, but then he found out that like his face was gotta be covered the whole movie, and he's like, what's even the point? Why even hire me at that point? So it went to Kevin Peter Hall, uh, famous, plays monsters, I guess. Sort of in that like Doug Jones region where they mostly perform inside outfits. He plays Bigfoot and Harry and the Hendersons. It's too bad. I am a little disappointed Van Damme wasn't in this movie. You know me, I love Van Damme more than any person reasonably should. Also, I have heard that the pitch for this movie came from someone saying, like, the only person Rocky hasn't fought yet is E.T., so this is supposed to be like Rocky versus E.T. I'm not sure how true that story is. Because the Predator's nothing like fucking E.T. And also it's an army man. It's Rambo versus E.T. if anything, not Rocky. I'm still waiting for the movie where a man does a boxing match with an alien. Maybe even a predator. Like, fuck it. A predator boxing match. I'm here for it. Anyways, Predator. I mean, it's a classic movie. If you haven't seen it, that's kinda on you. But Predator, you should watch it. Look at this. I can save $5 on VHSs of my favorite Schwarzenegger films, including Total Recall, which is convenient because that's our last feature, Total Recall, and I don't have a VHS of it. I even went to like the place I buy VHSs from, and they didn't have Total Recall on VHS. I was real disappointed. I already had these two. I have a lot of Schwarzenegger movies on VHS, actually. Do I have Terminator? I think I have Terminator 2 on VHS, but not Terminator 1. I'd check, but it's like way over there. I do have both Conan the Barbarian movies on VHS. Anyways, Total Recall, our final film of the night. Probably my favorite non-Terminator Schwarzenegger film. In the film, Schwarzenegger finds out about... so the film is set in, like, the not too distant future. Well, it's hard to tell how far in the future it is. But, you know, decently into the future, and there's a program called Total Recall where they implant memories of a vacation into your brain. So it's like, yeah, why pay for a full vacation when you can just pay for the memory of a vacation? So Schwarzenegger goes to, like, get a vacation to Mars implanted in his brain, but, you know, something goes wrong because it turns out He's actually this, like, secret agent who, like, has done work on Mars and is, like, investigating, this secret underground, like, this rebel resistance on Mars, because Mars is basically run by just, like, this one dude. He owns, like, all these mines on the planet, and he's extracting it for money. Basically the role Elon Musk is gonna play in about 20, 30 years. And so he's in with, like, the resistance, and they've sort of wiped his memory. The resistance wiped his memory. No, excuse me. The bad guy wiped his memory and dumped him on Earth so he couldn't help the underground. And something about going into recall sort of broke that. He's starting to, like, piece together who he was. And so he gets thrown into this whole big escapade about getting back into, like, who he was on Mars, even though he doesn't really have any memory of who he was on Mars. But of course, the entire time, there's sort of this underlying thing of, like, is this actually happening, or is this his, like, recall memory being implanted? And at some point, a guy shows up and he's like, "Hi, I'm a doctor from the recall place. You're still in your recall thing. You're freaking out. You're taking the memory too seriously. And if you don't stop, you're gonna end up, like, brain dead." Like Schwarzenegger kind of, he's thinking about, like, oh, maybe I am in this thing too deep. And he, weirdly, the guy gives him a red pill, so I have to assume this film was at least partial inspiration for The Matrix. I think The Matrix definitely was taking from Total Recall. So he gives him a red pill, and it's like, yeah, if you take the red pill, it signifies, like, your willingness to wake up, and you'll be back at recall. But then he notices that the guy is sweating, and it's like, maybe he's actually working for the bad guy. So instead he shoots the guy and goes about the story as it was set up. And the ending kind of implies that it could be a dream and it could not be a dream. And I'm someone who, like, I don't like the "it was all a dream" twist, so I tend to take movies at face value. And there's the ambiguity in this film is, like, perfect, because, like, maybe this is all just in his brain and he's kind of freaking out, or maybe it's all true. Like, there's no real way to know based on the information available in the film. You know, there's nothing that's like, ooh, this makes me think it's definitely a dream, or this makes me think it's definitely real. It could be either. The only thing that puts me on, like, real side is, like, sometimes the movie will cut away to, like, the villain having conversations with people that Schwarzenegger wouldn't be privy to. In fact, even, like, right when the psychotic breakdown starts, it's cut away to, like, one of the guys who works at Recall, and they're like, "Hey, sir, we need you to get in here right now." And it's like, well, why would Schwarzenegger be imagining him in the other room? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And maybe you could argue that's just the movie kind of showing us what would be happening off screen for all of this to work, but at the same time, it feels weird to show that if it is all a dream. If it's all a dream, we should really be stuck with Schwarzenegger the whole movie. Although, at the same time, I think it's pretty fair to say that it is simultaneously true and untrue, because, you know, it's a movie, so, like, I don't think anything about this story is significantly different if it's real or if it's fake. I got this nice little steel book here, and it's kind of weird that they've gone with the alien handprint for the cover, because, I mean, Yeah, I mean that's important to the story. There's like a way, there's like this alien tech that was built underground that if activated will give Mars an atmosphere, and the big mine owner guy is covering it up because if Mars has an atmosphere, then he can't threaten people by taking away their air. You know, air becomes free, he can't charge them for it anymore. Which, you know, great fucking commentary there. Like, this is a Paul Verhoeven film, I should mention. This is from Verhoeven, the man who made RoboCop. So yeah, he loves him some uh allegory for capitalism. Or not even allegory for capitalism, that just is capitalism. The bleak reality of capitalism. Something Verhoeven loves to do. And to activate it, there's like a little place where you have to put your hand that looks like this. But it's weird that they went with that for the cover because there aren't actually any aliens in the film. There are mutants, but they're very specific about, like, these are just, like, mutated humans on the planet. And I actually thought it was gonna end with, like, one of the mutants coming up and activating the thing. Like, it turns out his hand has mutated perfectly to fit into this thing. But no, Schwarzenegger just walks up and puts, like, his human hand on it, and that's good enough. That works. Here's the normal cover on the back here. Schwarzenegger's blue face. What do you guys think of steelbooks? This is an unrelated question. This is not the question of the week. But what do you guys think of steelbooks? I like them personally, but not enough to pay extra for them. If the steelbook and the Blu-ray are the same price, I'll get the steelbook. But if the steelbook's more expensive, I'll just get the Blu-ray. I have a couple steelbooks. I like them. They look nice. They're a lot sturdier, although they also take up a little more shelf space sometimes. Sometimes. I also do get pretty thick Blu-ray cases sometimes, so it's kind of who you get it from. Like I said, this was directed by Paul Verhoeven, the man behind RoboCop, and it's based on a Philip K. Dick story. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale? Something to that effect. Classic example of Philip K. Dick having a wacky book title and then they adapt it into a movie and they're like, yeah, we're gonna call it something cool and sci-fi like Total Recall or Blade Runner. Actually, it's a little coincidental that Verhoeven is adapting a Philip K. Dick novel because apparently the idea for RoboCop came from Blade Runner. Like, one of the writers told the other writer, he's like, oh yeah, there's this movie Blade Runner. It's about this, like, robot cop. And they're like, yo, we should write a movie about a robot cop. And that's how RoboCop was born. I'm gonna have to show RoboCop eventually, aren't I? I love that movie. RoboCop is one of my favorite movies of all time. Total Recall is not quite as clever as RoboCop. It's a Schwarzenegger vehicle. And although I do think some people dismiss it for being a Schwarzenegger vehicle, it does have that Schwarzenegger cheese to it. But I think it works. I think it's still like a smart, entertaining movie in spite of that. Or perhaps even in addition to that. I love the Schwarzenegger cheese, as you can clearly tell. And this has my all-time favorite Schwarzenegger moment. The version of him before his mind was wiped has, like, left a recording for him, and so he's, like, watching this recording of himself from before his mind was wiped. So him on the computer's just like, you are not you, you're me. And then him in real life is just like, no shit. It's like perfect fucking delivery. It's my favorite Schwarzenegger moment of all time. He's just like having an argument with himself. There's a lot of other good ones in this movie. There's screw you as he kills a guy with a giant drill, although he doesn't get the delivery on that because he's like yelling over the sound of the drill. He's just like, screw you, Benny. And it's like, no, it's funnier when he just says it casually. It does also have another pretty weak one. He kills Michael Ironside. He kills Michael Ironside on an elevator by he like pulls his arms up as like the elevator is going past the thing, and it sort of cuts his arms off, and then his body falls to the ground, and Schwarzenegger's just holding his arms, and then he's just like, "See you at the party, Richter," and it's like, he could have done better than that. I've thought of another good one. Sharon Stone plays Schwarzenegger's wife, and she tries to kill him, as Sharon Stone is ought to do. She always is trying to kill her husband in these movies. This Basic Instinct, Catwoman. Sharon Stone's always gunning for her husband. So she's trying to kill him, and he like pulls a gun on her, and she's like, "Oh, come on, baby, it's me, your wife. You know me. We're married." And he just shoots her in the head, and he's like, "Consider that a divorce." I'm like, that's a classic Schwarzenegger line. Michael Ironside as the villain's henchman, and of course Ronnie Cox as the head bad guy who runs the whole planet, Copenhagen, who owns Mars. Mel Johnson Jr. is Benny. I think I've seen him in something else, although his IMDb profile picture is from this movie. I guess I haven't. But he's a good character. He's very fun, very charming in this movie. I like him a lot. Dean Norris has a minor role in this. Yeah, Total Recall. I love it. It's a smart movie that has things to say, that is also a really fun, cheesy Schwarzenegger movie. And I love a movie that does that. I love a movie that has something to say, but is still entertaining, right? It's still a fun movie. Even if you decide you don't want to interpret this film at all, you're just going to ignore any sort of subtext, any sort of message, it's still an entertaining film, right? And that's what I love about Total Recall. It's also why RoboCop is one of my favorite movies of all time, because it is a smart movie with a lot to say, like, really smart movie. You know what? I'll talk about RoboCop when I show it. I could gush about RoboCop for hours. I love that fucking movie. I also love Total Recall. Please watch it. Naturally, last time I asked what your favorite non-Terminator Schwarzenegger movie was, because I don't know, I love Terminator. I love Terminator 2. I feel like if you allow those two, everyone's gonna pick those two. Terminator 2 is one of the greatest movies of all time. So I suppose, excluding Terminator 1 and 2, my favorite Schwarzenegger film is Total Recall. I love it. John August says, in my admittedly shallow pool of Schwarzenegger films I've seen, I'd say my favorite is Predator. Fair enough. Predator, fun movie. I just talked about it. Ron Ellis says, it's a tie between Kindergarten Cop or Jingle All the Way. Congratulations, Ron Ellis. I can tell you grew up in the 90s, because those are two movies that no one born outside the 90s has ever enjoyed. Like, Jingle All the Way is, like, one of the quintessential, like, movies you watched as a kid that weren't good, but you still insist are one of your favorites because you saw it as a kid and it's important to you. It goes right up there with, like, Space Jam and other Schwarzenegger comedy movies, honestly. I haven't actually seen Kindergarten Cop. I'm going to be completely transparent about that one. I have not seen Kindergarten Cop. John Cleveland gave me a full top 10. Favorite Schwarzenegger films that are not Terminator 1 or 2. Predator, another one high up there. True Lies. I like True Lies. It is not my favorite thing in the world. I don't know that I would even put it in my top 10 Schwarzenegger films. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I think Commando's funnier, for one thing. I think Commando does a fairly similar concept, because it's, comedy Schwarzenegger film, action comedy Schwarzenegger film, not, what if we put Schwarzenegger into non-Schwarzenegger situations? Now Schwarzenegger's twins with Danny DeVito. Now Schwarzenegger's pregnant. Now Schwarzenegger has to find an action figure for his son. Conan the Barbarian, fucking classic. I rewatched that a couple months ago because I'm like, I don't know, maybe this won't hold up. I haven't seen this since I was pretty young. Maybe it won't hold up. No, it does. It holds up so well. I love Conan the Barbarian. The Running Man, another classic. I definitely thought about doing it for this one, but I'm pretty sure Total Recall has the higher body count of the two. But I will definitely be showing Running Man in the future. I love that movie. Total Recall, just talked about it. Conan the Destroyer, I actually haven't seen Conan the Destroyer. I really need to. I have it on Blu-ray and VHS, and I still haven't seen it. Last Action Hero. Here's another controversial opinion. I'm not huge on Last Action Hero. It has funny moments. There are really funny moments in that movie. Like, he says, "I'll be back. Bet you weren't expecting me to say that. You always say that." Or when he starts asking everyone their phone number and they're all 555 numbers. Or fucking Stallone in Terminator 2. Fucking perfect. Honestly, if I could remake any movie, I would remake Last Action Hero, because then you have double layer meta commentary. You can make fun of the fact that it is a reboot within itself. And of course you would have to get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play Jack Tracer. It couldn't be anyone but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And then you could have a joke where John Cena is in some The Rock movie. Scorpion King. Twins. Admittedly have not seen Twins. Eraser I have seen, and that's an interesting pick, because I have not heard a lot of people compliment Eraser. I think it has some good moments, but again, far from my favorite Schwarzenegger film. I do like him telling people that they've just been erased immediately before they get fucking murdified. And Killing Gunther, which is a pretty recent one if I'm not mistaken. That's his sort of return after Expendables. I think. I might be wrong about that. I haven't seen it, but maybe I will, at your recommendation. I mean, I've seen so many fucking Schwarzenegger films. It's a matter of time before I've seen all of them, probably. Anyways, if you caught last week's By the Numbers video, this was our last movie night of year number 2, so we are now at the dawn of year number 3. This year I'm committed to 2 things. Number 1, more foreign films, and number 2, more seriously fucked up shit. So, I guess my question this week is, what are some really fucked up foreign movies you'd like to see me talk about? And we're starting the year off right with, one of the most aggressive triple features I think I could come up with. 2 of them are from Italy, so it's a foreign-dominated one. The first one, of course, is from America. It's John Waters' Multiple Maniacs. Following that, we've got another infamous director, Lucio Fulci's The New York Ripper. Forgot the title for a second. And we're ending with Burial Ground, also called Burial Ground Nights of Terror. Also zombie horror, The Zombie Dead. It's got a couple alternate titles, as many giallo, Italian horror, this is not a giallo, this is just Italian horror, do. I think this is giallo, though. Yeah, there's a couple different titles for this. Burial Ground, that's what the Blu-ray calls it, so that's what we're calling it. Watch those tonight, and we'll talk about them next week. Until then, have a nice day.